Well, I think the person who probably articulated it best was a Dutch guy by the name of Arie de Geus. And Arie was the head of group planning at Shell, the oil company. He spent the whole of his career at Shell. His father had spent the whole of his career at Shell as well. So he was kind of, really a Shell guy. And they began to realise that with the oil crisis of 1973, 50 years ago now, where oil prices went up by a factor of 4, and like they had been stable for generations, and then all of a sudden there was the oil crisis as the Arabs decided that, hey, if we turn the tap off, people will pay more money. So, there was this big oil crisis. And so Shell realised, all of our strategic planning machinery is predicated on stability and things only changing incrementally. What do we do when there's big disruptions, when things become very uncertain and unpredictable? How do we respond to that? And so initially they came out with the idea of scenario planning, which was there's certain things that are kind of fixed. There's certain demographics, for example, that populations are growing at a certain rate. So you kind of know, well, if there's that many 15-year-olds now, in 10 years' time, there's going to be about this many 25-year-olds because the maths just goes that way. But then there are other factors like changing in technology, changes in social values, etc., that are not so predictable. So if you kind of take out the fixed bits and then you work out what you think the variation of the variable bits is, you can come up with a set of scenarios that give you a little bit more freedom to explore different possibilities that might unfold. And then you can build your strategy around that. And so Arie used to describe this. So they would come and do their scenarios, and the committee of managing directors, which was the Shell top management team, would come together for some jamboree every year, and they'd be presented with the scenarios, and they're great, fine, everything. They'd all nod and whatever. And then he said in the evening, you could guarantee that what would happen is you go to the bar, and one of the managing directors would sidle up to you and say, "Really good job, Arie. Really like the scenarios, but just tell me, which one do you think's actually going to happen?" Right? Because they were realizing that, because they wanted to have the one scenario so that they could plan based on that one scenario. So the idea that an organization can plan for a certain future is deeply, deeply there in the DNA of organizational thinking and has been for like 100 years. But in a world that's increasingly uncertain and unpredictable, you can't do that. What you need is an organization that can learn quickly. And as Arie said, the only sustainable competitive advantage is to learn faster than your competitors.